Okay, let's unpack this. We've received a fascinating stack of sources for this deep dive. They seem to be pulling us in two wildly different directions almost at the same time.
That's right. On one hand, you've got these ancient prophecies with just colossal visions, ultimate glory, limitless space, divine protection that's ironclad.
And then, bam, on the other side, this stark moment of intense, almost paralyzing human failure. A complete inability to grasp a truth that's crucial, but also really challenging.
It creates this incredible tension, doesn't it? So our mission today really is to synthesize these readings. We have these huge canvases of divine future, divine promise.
Immense scale.
Exactly. And then we juxtapose them directly with that immediate, visceral non-comprehension from the disciples. They're facing this necessary suffering in the present moment and just blanking.
So we have to figure out, what is the relationship here between that overwhelming prophecy, the guaranteed glory, and this profound, immediate mystery they can't penetrate?
Yeah, how do they coexist?
It's a stunning collision of expectation and, well, the predicted reality. Our sources are going to guide us through this spectrum. We've got the sweeping vision from Zechariah, the deep assurance of restoration in Jeremiah 31 and Psalm 34.
Beautiful texts.
And then that sharp, almost jarring contrast in the gospel, Luke chapter 9.
Yeah.
So let's start with that ultimate vision of security first. We begin in Zechariah 2, and the scene opens with such a grounded, very human image. Zechariah sees man doing something that just speaks volumes about human anxiety, maybe human control.
What's he doing?
He has a measuring line in his hand. Simple as that. And when someone asks where he's going, the answer is really direct. To measure Jerusalem, to see how great is its width and how great its length.
Right. It's this act of setting boundaries, defining what's ours, trying to ensure physical security by, limiting the sprawl.
Yeah.
Containing it.
Makes sense.
And it's helpful to ground this historically for a second. This prophecy is often placed after the return from the Babylonian exile. So the people trying to rebuild Jerusalem, they are fundamentally insecure. They're desperate for physical walls, for tangible measurements. Anything to reassure them they won't be conquered again.
They're trying to engineer their own safety, build a city using human geometry.
Precisely. But that human planning, that very understandable impulse, it's immediately, almost delightfully invalidated.
How does the script get flipped?
Totally. The angels intervene before the man can even, finish his task. The message is crystal clear. Forget the measuring line.
Drop the tape measure.
Yeah. Run, tell that young man his human geometry. It's obsolete now. Jerusalem is going to be so overwhelmingly successful, filled with such a multitude of men and beasts in her midst, that people will live as though in open country.
As though in open country.
Yeah.
That's such a powerful phrase. It doesn't mean they're, vulnerable or unprotected.
No, not at all.
It means the sheer scale of the divine population boom makes any human wall seem, restrictive, pointless even. The promise just transcends human planning.
And that raises the critical question, doesn't it? If the walls are gone, metaphorically or literally, where does the protection actually come from?
Right. What replaces stone and mortar?
And the text tells us God himself replaces the physical fortification. He declares, and this is amazing, I will be for her an encircling wall of fire, says the Lord, and I will be the glory in her midst.
Wow. A wall of fire.
Think about that. A stone wall is static, right? It can be breached. But a wall of fire, it's dynamic, it's terrifying, it's completely impenetrable. It's the ultimate security upgrade, far beyond anything that measuring man could have guaranteed.
I wonder, though, that certainty, that overwhelming scale, it might have been almost as terrifying as it was comforting for those first listeners.
How so?
Well, it demands a total abandonment of their self-reliant engineering mindset. You have to completely trust this divine fire. But the vision does sweep outwards, affirming this boundless city, this fiery protection. It isn't just for them, is it?
No, it becomes universal. The promise declares, many nations shall join themselves to the Lord on that day. It ensures this future dwelling place is for everyone who comes. So if the place itself, Jerusalem, is boundless, glorious, protected by divine fire, we naturally transition to the people. Who's going to inhabit this glory? And that brings us to the theme of restoration found in our responsorial psalm, which draws from Jeremiah 31.
Okay, so we move from the, let's say, geography of glory to the psychology of restoration.
Yeah.
And for people who have been historically exiled, scattered, That image of being gathered is just profound.
Absolutely. And we see this immediate assurance through that beautiful shepherd metaphor. He who scattered Israel now gathers them together. He guards them as a shepherd guards his flock.
There's such tenderness in that, but also strength.
And what's fascinating here is how the divine action completely reverses their recent traumatic history. The Lord isn't just, patching things up or healing. He's actively retrieving.
Going out and getting them back.
Exactly. It says specifically, the Lord shall ransom Jacob. He shall redeem him from the hand of his conqueror. That word, redeem. It speaks to a massive intervention, almost like paying a price or using force to reclaim what was lost.
And the response to this, it's not polite or quiet, is it? The text describes this scene of just explosive collective joy.
Oh, yeah. Pure celebration.
We see them shouting, streaming to the Lord's blessings. It's described as a total emotional reversal, turning their mourning into joy. They don't just feel a bit better. They are actively celebrating this massive transformation.
And we get such wonderful specific details of that celebration. It really brings the vision to life. It's not just some general feeling of happiness.
Like what?
We see virgins shall make merry and dance, and young men and old as well. God is promising this physical, visible manifestation of joy and merriment across all generations. This complete restoration moves them from political defeat right into, dancing in the streets.
That's the grand sweeping vision then, the collective future, guaranteed. But what about the person who's experiencing pain right now, before the dancing actually starts?
That's a crucial point.
And I really appreciate that our source material also includes that sharp, immediate comfort from Psalm 34. It says, the Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit.
It's like a close-up shot after the wide angle.
Exactly. It bridges that enormous gap, doesn't it, between the certainty of the boundless future and the immediate, personal, often painful now. It reassures the individual who's still mourning, still crushed, that they are not forgotten while they wait for that big celebration.
God is present in both the grand vision and the immediate hurt.
So this overwhelming certainty of restoration, of glory, that's the essential backdrop. And against that, we have to view our next set of sources. Because now we take a really sharp turn into Gospel of Luke, chapter 9. And the contrast is, it's genuinely jarring.
It really is. We start with the disciples and the crowd, seemingly at the absolute peak of their belief. The text tells us the people were all amazed at his every deed.
They've seen the miracles, right? They've seen the power. They're probably expecting that Zechariah vision any minute now, thinking maybe, the wall of fire is about to go up.
They're definitely riding a wave of success and expectation.
But then, immediately following that moment of greatest amazement, Jesus delivers a warning that just seems to contradict everything they think they know about how prophecy works. He pulls his disciples aside privately and says, pay attention to what I'm telling you. The Son of Man is to be handed over to men.
Okay, we need to pause briefly on that phrase, Son of Man, because for the disciples, this title, which is rooted in Daniel's prophecy, it was synonymous with cosmic triumphant glory.
The eternal king, the judge.
Exactly. The one who would judge the world and rule forever. So for that person, the one who commands nature, heals the sick, maybe even brings the firewall to be handed over to mere mortal men. It wasn't just confusing, it was like a total collapse of their messianic expectations.
It sounds like failure, like defeat, not triumph.
Precisely. And their reaction is the critical mystery here. Despite all the evidence of his divine power, despite the amazing deeds they literally just witnessed, they did not understand this saying. But the text goes even further. It asserts that its meaning was hidden from them so that they should not understand it.
Hidden from them. Was that like an obfuscation on God's part? Or was it a failure of their faith? Or was the reality of suffering just too massive, too contradictory for their human minds to process before it actually happened?
It feels like maybe a combination of things. The truth was obscured. Yes, the text says that. But perhaps their hearts also built a kind of wall against it.
Like so.
Well, they'd already grasped the great joyful destiny, the dancing, the boundless city. They wanted that. They wanted to skip the part that involved the conqueror seeming to win, even for a moment.
They wanted the glory without the cross.
Essentially. And this is further proven, I think, by the next detail. They didn't just fail to understand. It says they were afraid to ask him about this saying.
Oh, that fear. That's palpable, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
They sensed the question was dangerous. They probably suspected the answer would shatter their comfortable, immediate expectations of glory and power.
So they preferred confusion.
It seems like it. They preferred confusion to confronting the necessary, painful truth of the path ahead.
Which raises a really important question for us too, doesn't it? How often do we, maybe when faced with some overwhelming certainty of future promise, willingly choose to be afraid to ask about the immediate suffering or difficulty required?
Oof, yeah.
Because the suffering they couldn't comprehend was, ironically, the only mechanism that actually makes the glorious salvation possible. It's the mechanism the Alleluia verse, mentioned alongside this passage, hints at. Christ destroyed death and brought life to light through the gospel. The suffering was the path to the firewall, not a detour around it.
Okay, so this is where the real deep dive properly begins. We've established the overwhelming external certainty of God's ultimate plan in Zechariah.
The big picture.
Right. And the total internal incomprehension regarding D means the how in Luke.
The confusing middle part.
Exactly. So now we have to somehow bridge that gap. How do these pieces fit together?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the sources taken together present us with a really staggering paradox. They remind us quite plainly, especially through the disciples' failure to grasp the cross, that God's ways are often beyond our grasp.
We see the blueprint for the eternal city, the amazing final product.
Yes, but the instructions for laying the foundation involve methods we instinctively resist or don't understand.
That's the core tension, isn't it? We readily accept the boundless joy, the final victory, but we struggle intensely, maybe even refuse to accept the hardship that enables it. The reflection source we looked at is pretty uncompromising on this point. It is through the cross that salvation comes.
You can't isolate the glory of the boundless city from the necessary surrender, the handing over that the disciples feared so much. We have to move past the idea that the cross is just like an unfortunate detour or prerequisite we wish wasn't there.
It's not as subtle.
No, it is the necessary geometry in a way. The disciples couldn't process the idea that the ultimate power, the Son of Man, would be handed over because for them, power equated to immediate physical victory. Domination, maybe?
But the prophecy demands a longer view.
It demands trust. Trust that the lowest point, the point of apparent failure, is actually the point of greatest redemptive force.
So if the disciples were paralyzed by fear, afraid to even ask about what they didn't understand, what's the required response for us then, when we face things that don't make sense?
Well, the sources seem to define true faith, not as understanding the mechanics of every single step along the way.
Like having the full blueprint and construction schedule.
Right, but rather as acknowledging the wall of fire is there, the destination is real and glorious, even when the path immediately in front of you looks like it leads directly into the hands of the conqueror, into failure or suffering.
Yeah, so true faith.
True faith, as the reflection concludes, means trusting even when we cannot fully see or comprehend. It's about committing to the destination. You know, the dancing, the boundless city, and committing to the guide, Jesus, even when the immediate map seems utterly counterintuitive or even catastrophic.
Wow. So it demands that we live simultaneously in two realities almost.
Oh.
And the overwhelming certainty of the prophetic promise, knowing the ultimate outcome is guaranteed.
Holding on to that hope.
While also operating inside the immediate, often bewildering reality of the necessary trial, which frequently makes absolute no sense to our human desire for safety, comfort, and, well, immediate victory.
And we have to remember, the disciples saw the miracles. They saw incredible things, but they couldn't process the cost of the ultimate miracle. That required a different kind of sight.
The sight of trust.
Exactly. Which is maybe the willingness to ask the difficult question, even if you're afraid of the answer, and then accept that difficult answer, regardless of our preference for glory now. Hashtag tag outro.
So we've traveled quite a distance today from that incredible vision of unlimited firewalled glory in Zechariah and the guaranteed gathering of the joyful flock.
That incredible hope.
Straight into the disciples' profound inability to understand the purpose of suffering, a meaning that was, for a critical time, explicitly hidden from them.
Yeah, the stack of sources really lays out that whole spectrum beautifully, from absolute certainty to deep mystery. Prophecy gives us the glorious goal.
Yeah.
The gospel, especially this tough passage in Luke, gives us the unexpected mechanism, the how.
The cross.
And the reflection sort of demands our response, a trust that has to supersede our temporary fear and confusion.
Okay, so as we leave you to maybe mull over this journey today, let's go right back to that poignant detail from Luke. Given that the disciples were literally afraid to ask about the hardest, most necessary truth, the fact that the glorious Son of Man was first to be handed over.
That crucial, difficult step.
What does it mean for you to practice deeper trust today? How do you balance that deep, joyful certainty you might find in the prophetic visions and the promises of God with the personal demand to step onto a path of trial or uncertainty? Especially when the crucial next step is something your human mind, your desire for safety, actively tries to avoid. Or maybe refuses even to ask about,
Yeah.
because it simply does not make sense right now.